With temperatures exceeding 86 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 degrees Celsius, in parts of the UK this week, many of us may find ourselves gunning for an ice cream or few chilled pints in a beer garden. But scientists claim that it may not just be our desire to cool ourselves off that leads us to reach for these extra treats while in the sunshine. Researchers from Tel Aviv University in Israel claim that males are more likely to gain weight in the summer due to this hormone. However, in women, the sex hormone estrogen interferes with the release of this hunger hormone, meaning it does not lead to a change in appetite. A new study has found that exposure to sunlight stimulates the release of a hunger hormone from the skin, but the effects are only prevalent in men. These results identify the skin as a major mediator of energy homeostasis and may lead to therapeutic opportunities for sex-based treatments of endocrine-related diseases, the team wrote. Ghrelin is known as the hunger hormone because it stimulates appetite, increases food intake and promotes fat storage. It is released mainly by the stomach, with small amounts also released by the small intestine, pancreas and brain. It circulates in the bloodstream and acts at the hypothalamus, an area of the brain crucial in the control of appetite. Ghrelin has also been shown to act on regions of the brain involved in reward processing such as the amygdala, and can stimulate the activity of dopamine neurons. Levels of ghrelin in the blood rise just before eating and when fasting, with the timing of these rises being affected by our normal meal routine. Source: You and your hormones. The need to consume food is mainly controlled by communication between peripheral tissues, like in the gut and liver, and the brain. Hormones are released from peripheral organs to reach brain regions such as the hypothalamus, which controls functions like temperature and sleep as well as hunger. The study, published today in Nature Metabolism, looked at the results of a survey of 3,000 Israeli participants who recorded their diet between 1999 and 2001. Karmat Levy and her team saw that, on average, men increased their intake of calories from food in the summer months, when solar radiation is highest. However, women did not show a similar summer peak. The research was supported by a study of mice that were exposed to daily ultraviolet (UVB) radiation for 10 weeks. The researchers observed a significant increase in food intake with the male mice, but not in the females. It was found that the UVB radiation stimulated the release of the hunger hormone ghrelin from the fat cells in the skin tissue of male mice called adipocytes. Upon reaching the hypothalamus, the ghrelin increased appetite in these male mice, promoting food intake and weight gain. The researchers also noted the mice showed heightened food-seeking behavior, suggesting the increased food intake was also related to the rewarding properties of food rather than just to fulfill energy requirements.